The 2021 Six Nations is well underway, and here are 6 things that we have learned so far. I'm StattoJoe, you're a legend for watching this video, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, or if I've missed anything. And let's just jump straight into it. First thing we're going to look at is England, and how the lack of game time for a lot of their players has affected their overall speed. So if you don't know already, a lot of the England players play for Saracens, who are in the Championship at the minute due to a wage cap breach last season, and the Championship hasn't been playing because of COVID. So for the last 6 weeks, a lot of the England players haven't been playing rugby, and I think overall you'll see this has affected a lot of their speed. Now, in the build-up, this was a concern, certainly by the media, who they weren't making excuses for England early on, but there was certainly an element of this could be a problem for England. So, we might not get the best England, etc., etc. And this incident sort of highlights the lack of efficiency or the lack of speed compared to Scotland, who were bombarding them, who fully deserved the win. By the way, totally 100% deserved the win. And while this incident isn't just the reason, it doesn't show this lack of speed completely. It is an incident out of many that happened in the game, and I just thought this was a good one to highlight. So this happens towards the end of the first half, and you do really need to pay attention, but it does make a big difference. And we need to focus on the number 9, Ben Youngs. So this is towards the end of the first half. They're quite close to the Scottish line, and as Ben Youngs comes in, he fumbles the ball here. So I'll just mark this area here. So Itoje hasn't properly let go of the ball, which causes Ben Youngs to sort of fumble, and that really then takes the wind out of their sails, as we'll see in the rest of the clip. So as we'll see, and even the pass is flat. A Scottish player was offside at this point, so there was an element of that they did get a penalty, but there was very little in that offside decision, and look how far back they've come just from that lack of pace. And throughout the game, there were things that sort of highlighted a bit of mental fatigue or slowness or rustiness that we're not used to seeing with England. And definitely in the first 20 minutes of the game against Italy, we saw the same thing. They conceded 2 penalties in the first 2 minutes. So there's definitely a lack of game time there, and maybe as the tournament progresses, they'll probably get better and probably win. I would say they'll win their last 3 games, personally. No, maybe not. They might still have France to play, actually, so they might lose that game, but I think they'll beat Ireland and Wales. Okay, so if we look then at Ireland's backs are struggling with creativity. Now, I know this isn't necessarily breaking news to people, because I know that Ireland have never really been the most creative of sides. They rely a lot on their forwards in the mauls, in the scrum, in defence. And certainly I know that a lot of Ireland's play runs through their forwards. I know that the backs aren't that great at creatively, they're not amazing. And I think a lot of the strengths of the backs in Ireland are their defence. But in this Six Nations so far, I would say that Ireland have been the team that have shown the least flair in the whole competition. I think Italy looked great against England in the first 35 minutes. Scotland have shown it. Wales have certainly shown it. France have been unbelievable, and England did show it in the Italy game. I just want to highlight a phase of play that sort of shows a lot of Ireland's play. Now, again, I know this is an isolated event and it isn't representative of their entire match, but this was a pretty common theme. And I certainly felt in the game against France that they never ever really looked like scoring a try. And the try they did score was pretty lucky, you have to say. But if we just look at this clip, and there's a common theme here that we see. So ball comes out from the ruck, pass, boom, into the defence, ruck, next phase, ball. That's 2 passes, which was quite rare. It was often 1 pass straight into the defence. And we'll see it again one more time, carry in, and then Ireland get a penalty here. But my issue with that is that it was happening all the time, no matter where it was on the pitch. And I'm not one for constantly kicking to gain territory. There's a time and a place for that, for sure. But whenever that's happening all the time, it becomes so predictable and boring, and ultimately fruitless. Ireland did not deserve necessarily 13 points against France. They were very lucky to get their try, and they never did look like scoring. And it is frustrating from an Ireland perspective as a fan myself. You're just like, can you not do something with the ball? At the end of this video, we're going to talk about France's flair and how it completely contrasted the Ireland style of play. Thirdly, Italy's front foot rugby has improved dramatically. If you watch the game against England, Italy scored in the first 2 minutes, and we're going to look at that try now. But some of the rugby they're playing at the minute is so exciting, and it's great to see. And the one thing they just need to work on is fitness and defence, and they could be more competitive in the future. I know that a lot of hope has been put on the youngsters in Italy's team. Certainly, Garbisi is very young, and I know that they put a lot of hope on him to be the next star. And you can sort of see why. A lot of the play is really good stuff, and they certainly had England on the back foot. And we're just going to watch through this try, and you'll sort of see the speed through the hands that they play with. So Italy get a penalty advantage here, which gives them a bit of a free play. So they do have a free pass, but they're willing to take into the tackle and offload. And then we see here the speed through the hands. They had an extra man, no problem. They did get a bit lucky there. One of the defenders sort of tripped over one of the Italian players that had fallen down. But this was a try that Italy deserved. It was excellent play, and I almost felt jealous, watching that. I am worried as an Ireland fan about the Italy game. I genuinely am, just because Ireland have not shown enough yet to make me think that they'll definitely win the game against Italy. I don't think it's a. I think a game against Italy, you do expect to win it with a bonus point, but I just don't. I just don't. I'm not sure if Ireland will, unless they change their game plan entirely. Then that's how I think they would get that. But Italy have certainly improved, and I think we have a lot to look forward to in the coming years. Okay, the next point is that Wales have ridden their luck. Now, I'm not being salty because I know that, with Ireland losing, going down to 14 men, that's not what this is about, because it's a common theme in their two games so far. And I'm just going to look at penalties conceded because that's quite important. So in rugby, penalties have a massive impact on results usually. So what we see is that the team that concedes the most penalties usually lose, because penalties conceded anywhere allow for the team to gain territory and momentum. In the Ireland game, it was entirely dictated by penalties. The first 20 minutes, Ireland conceded 4 or 5 penalties, I think, and a red card. Then after that, Wales conceded quite a few penalties, which allowed Ireland to go into half-time 13-3 ahead, I think. Then at the start of the second half, Ireland conceded a lot of penalties, and from those penalties, Italy went on to score. Wales went on to score 2 tries, and then towards the end of the game, Wales were conceded more penalties. So yes, in this game, the penalty count was even, but it was the red card in both games that really changed the game and allowed Wales to win the game. And I don't think that's a controversial opinion. I think that's entirely fair. And then if we look at the Scotland game, Wales were the away team, and they conceded 13 penalties to Scotland's 11, and the game changed dramatically whenever Scotland had a man sent off. The momentum shifted completely. Wales went on the front foot and ultimately won that game by a point. So yeah, I just think Wales have ridden their luck, and uh, I'd be surprised if they went on to win the next 3 games. However, Wales have only ever won their opening 2 matches 5 times, and 4 of those 5 times have gone on to win the Grand Slam. So you never know. We could see an unlikely Wales Grand Slam. Would be crazy, but crazier things have happened. Now we're going to talk about Scotland, and Scotland aren't afraid to take the game to the opposition. This is something that has become a real. It's become really common in Gregor Townsend's play that Scotland sort of take the game to teams. They have a load of confidence. Um, they are, as I've said before, they're really reaching their peak, and I think it's really exciting to watch. But what's really interesting to me is not just this possession stat here, but I think this is more important. So Scotland have had in the Wales game they had 62% possession, but of that possession they had 77% in the Welsh half. So overall in the game, that sort of works out at 47% of the game was played by Scotland in the Welsh half. So they had a high amount of territory. That's not including the Welsh possession in their own half. But Scotland took the game to Wales, but ultimately the red card I think changed the game for them. And certainly against England, they took the game to them also. So I think we're seeing it. This style of Scotland's really paying off. It wouldn't surprise me if Scotland beat Ireland, Italy, and gave France a real good go. It honestly wouldn't surprise me. So Scotland doing really well, and it's great to see. Now, finally, the last point is that the French flair pays off. Now, I'm sure you've seen this try, and if you haven't, it's excellent. But there's something about the French team that you can't really teach. It's sort of like they just have this talent in them, this flair, and this ability to think on their feet that allows them to score such beautiful tries. This one that they scored in the Ireland game is no exception. And we'll just see. It's about taking the ball into tackles and offloading. This is quite a long play, but I think it's really important just to see the speed of the ball in the hands. So Dupont, by the way, is I think the number one scrum half in the world. We'll see there. There's 3 offloads in a row. Poor defence there from Ireland, to be fair to them. But France continue on, and this is going to be really important, right? I'm just going to pause that here because Gibson Park here, he's the last Irishman of the defence, and he gets suckered into trying to tackle Gail Fiku. He really needs to be about here. So he needs to be there to cover Olivon. Now, we don't know if he would definitely win that challenge. But what he's done there is he's basically allowed for this to happen. Also because he's small, Fiku can sort of put the ball over his head like he does in this clip. And that's what leads to the French try. Now, that I'm not taking anything away from France because this try was just outstanding, but you can see that has he's been suckered, and then ultimately Stander's too slow to get to him. So that's disappointing from an Irish perspective. However, a great try, great flair. We saw that plenty against Italy too. That France can get the ball in their own half and just run up pitch and score in about 45 seconds. So it's not a surprise. But Ireland never ever looked like doing that, and I think that's where the frustration came through. So they were my thoughts. They were my takeaways from the first 2 weeks of the Six Nations. What did you think? Because I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, of course. And if there's anything I missed, let me know. If there's anything you disagree with, also please do let me know. Next week, I'll give my predictions for the 3rd round of fixtures. My predictions haven't gone too well lately, so take them with a pinch of salt. And yeah, tomorrow there will be Premier League coverage.